cultura and how did, because I know that you were really close to the director, but also how was it conceived, and why is it that you wanted to make a film about mental illness?
Well, I can speak mostly from the production side, but related to the story, the intention of the director was to portray the mental illness that the character has, especially a ghost that is pursuing her like for many years, from even a couple of generations before, so it's kind of magical. And it becomes in this moment like a schizophrenia moment, something like that. So that's why the character is interrupting the best moments of her life and affecting her relationship. That's why it's called ruptura, and also in Japanese. So it's ruptura, but ruptura in Japanese as well. That's why it has the Japanese letters on it.
Maya, the Foreigner. It's funny because I was a jury at the Ontario Council for that film 2 years ago. So I've been very familiar with the process. And can you talk about the inspiration about the Foreigner and within your whole community, which is the Brazilian community mostly, but it's also very universal in Toronto, right?
Yes. I lived in Brazil. I lived in the Northeast for almost a year. And in the Northeast, there's a type of music that's really popular called forró. And when I moved back here, I was shocked to see that there was a huge forró scene in Toronto, with incredible artists, and it happens really regularly. And a lot of artists and people from the community, members from the community who aren't even Brazilian, are really into it. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to do a piece, and the music that was played was original forró for the film, which was really special because it's rare that new forró gets made like from that traditional side. So.
And can you talk about the title, The Foreigner?
Sure. The Foreigner is kind of, I thought it would be interesting to make the story about a foreigner in their own city, and how that's reflective of some experiences you have, especially in a place like Toronto.
Yeah, and is that any reason why you didn't include any subtitles when the Brazilian people are speaking Portuguese? Is that intentional?
That was intentional. I debated about whether or not to include subtitles. I love feedback about that. But it was actually, I wasn't sure, and then I felt when they were in, you lost a part of the, reality of the piece. And so I guess in the end, but I love feedback about that.
I think I like the decision because it's also how he experiences the entire situation. So
yeah, I'm always interested though to see like what a Brazilian, like when I first screened it privately to a lot of the people in the film, like the Brazilians' reaction to the non-Brazilians, like there's kind of an inside joke because they knew more than what he was really making fun of.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you talk about your film and how you became to create this?
Well, usually when we are confronted with this subject, it's a common choice or a common taste to go towards violence and blood, towards guns, explosions. But I think there's so much more violence in wars and what's going on. Many of the reasons why we are suffering in Mexico, what's going on with narcotraffic, comes to the fact that all the choices we have taken in order to stop narcotraffic is just making it worse. All those conservative choices we have been taking in order to stop it is just making it stronger. So we are creating a market, we are creating what feeds this huge monster. So that's why I start to have this approach towards a program. And the reason I choose a priest is not because I was trying to insult religion or anything. It's just because it's one of the oldest institutions in the country. In Latin America, it's the oldest institution. And the problem is that even that institution has been taken by narcotraffic, as it has happened in Italy, has happened in Colombia too. So I could have taken a priest, I could have taken an engineer, pretty much everyone is working for it now. So I just choose it because, well, it was a very strong symbol of our own culture to an effect. It was a perfect one. As we see in the very first shot, we can see behind a church. And it's a church that's very old, it's almost falling apart. So it's like this power behind everything and at the same time nowhere.
Thank you. Camilo?
Yeah, so it's very Chilean in the theater, okay. So, okay, the content is about, my idea is try to prove that in Chile, people have been making the same film for almost 100 years. So, especially, so the idea was to prove that filmmakers are depicting the leftists and the rightists since 1925. And about the form, what I tried to do was to use, to walk away from big productions with gigantic crews, big budget, and big equipment, and I don't know, try to bring cinema closer to other art forms like poetry, for instance, that you only use a pen and a paper. So I try to keep the quality of the film as a YouTube film, you know, like very pixeled and very low-fi. So that was the idea. Thanks.
Dora?
Well, this film was made while I was in Cuba, and I was very drawn to Eduardo. So I was in eastern Cuba in a very remote part of the country, and I met Eduardo, this elderly man, and I was touched by his world, this very sort of solitude with its own rhythm and pace of time, and he barely had any contact with other humans, and so I was sort of documenting this. And then when I went into the editing of the film, I started to think about why it was that I was so drawn to him. Because I think often as filmmakers, my belief is that, in my experience, I'm drawn to people that I guess I see some part of myself in them. And so I realized that this loneliness that I had seen in this man, or this solitude, was something that I also felt, or that I also experienced. And so we were sort of united by this, but then there was this impossibility of ever really connecting. And so that's what the film is about, is representing this kind of dance between two lonely individuals.
Beautifully done. Ulises?
Yeah, I hate amusement rides, and they make me sick. I hate large amounts of people, so I avoid anything like that. As a kid, I used to work setting up amusement rides, and people always killed themselves in them, and we always laughed because kids laugh at that kind of thing. And so yeah, I just took the camera into this ride at the X, the big Canadian exhibition that we have here. And I just, I just recorded that, and I felt, I always think that hell makes me laugh. Like the idea of a place where there's flames and crap is like absolutely hilarious. It's like really idiotic to me. So, I just celebrated that. Thank you.
So you can come to my list. There's going to be lots of people and crowds. I'm kidding.
But I mean, I get agoraphobic, and large amounts of people really freak me out. I'm not saying I'm a misanthrope, although many have accused me of that, and they're probably right, but I will deny it till my dying day.
Okay. Somebody? Yeah, Sean in the back, and then Yildiz here.
Sonara and everyone, this is a wonderful program. A lot of really strong, amazing work. A lot of work on screen. And it's just wonderful to see this collection of Toronto-based and Canadian-based work. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Canadian-based. Laura lives in Vancouver, Camilo, Montreal, and Saturno, Montreal, and Toronto. So yeah, and there are some of the filmmakers that couldn't be here, but Alejandro now is living between Colombia and Venezuela. He's working with a big project.
And my question is for Laura. I think your film is beautiful. Like it's just another level. It's very well done, and I'm just kind of questioning what I saw. The introduction of yourself in it, as first your voice by making the question, what are you thinking, and your toes at the end. I don't know if I saw it. I'm missing another one, but I'm just interested in that, like that choice of including a bit of yourself in it in comparison to all of it.
Yeah, it's something that I'm still questioning whether that was the right choice or not. Because on one hand, if I would have taken that presence out, I think it would have just been a very clean portrait of this man in his space. But that wasn't really the heart of what I wanted to represent. What I wanted to represent, if I go to the very first image where there's these two little lights that are moving around in the dark, I wanted to talk about this this dance, or this space between the lights. And so I felt that I was part of the film. And so that moment when I ask Eduardo, what are you thinking? It's like I recognize that on one hand, it breaks this world and it breaks this silence. But I also chose to include it because I felt that it was such a concrete way of representing. I ask him and he never answers, and so that was kind of the crux of the story.
Sorry, but to me it does answer. To me it does answer it, because his gaze tells you so much without him even saying anything, and I agree that the next shot you have to have that other shot there is really perfect. So.
Awesome. Yes, please.
Yeah, my question was for the foreigner. Actually, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the film, but I wanted to share something really funny, actually, like a synchronicity, because I really relate to the character. Because actually, how I ended up here today was kind of like exactly like Actually, I was walking. It was Thursday, and I was walking down College on the way to an event, but I was early. So I said, I'm going to go get something to eat around here. There must be somewhere to eat. So I'm walking around, and then I see this party going on in this little restaurant. So I'm thinking, that's funny, So I go in, so I look at through the window, and I'm like looking at this band playing, and it's Brazilian music. I love Brazilian music. I'm a musician. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, awesome, perfect. I'll just go in there and kill some time before this other event is ready. So I walk in there, and it's like I see girls making out, and I see ho-ho going on. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, this is so cool, man. Yeah, she's hanging out here. But I was like a little bit uncomfortable because I didn't know anybody. So then I'm like, I see her, and she was like person standing right next to me, and she looked interesting. So I'm like, excuse me, are you Brazilian? And she says, no. You know what I mean? He goes, oh, I was gonna ask you if you could teach me how to dance ho-ho, because I don't know, So he says, oh, okay, cool, I'll teach you, no problem. So we start dancing, and had a great time. And then she told me, I'm a filmmaker. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, so then I come here, and I see the film, and it's basically like what happened to me in a way.
So she's the girl of the film that you were following.
It feels like surreal, you know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? It's like, so I just wanted to share that story, but I think it's a great film, and it almost like leads to a sequel. Like I want to see what happens to the guy and stuff. It's just like it makes you want to continue the film.
That's great. It's really funny because I know every single person in your film, being friends with a lot of the Brazilian community from having the office at Bavia. Now I became acquaintance with every single one of them. Alido Pimienta's music is in the background, and Aline Morales is an icon in the community. And I can see how you had a lot of help from your community and your support, and it's really amazing to watch. It's really great. Lalo.
And also continue on The Foreigner, that I really enjoyed. And as a Brazilian, I can really understand why you chose not to put the subtitles, because when he's talking with the foreigner, the Brazilian guy is talking with the foreigner, he's trying to get the foreigner guy to go and get a girl and dance. But he's got his hand like that, and then you shoot the hand and you can see, and then the guy understood that he's asking him to dance, but that wasn't really it. And so as a Brazilian, I know that what's happening, and then you can really relate to the foreigner in that aspect, because then he just misunderstands and goes for it. And if it was translated, then the people who don't speak Portuguese would know more than what the foreigner knows. So I kind of appreciate the fact that if you understand Portuguese, yeah, you'll know that he's not inviting him to dance. But if you don't, you might agree with the foreigner when he gets his hands and stuff. So that was really neat.
Go
ahead.
A funny story about that, when I was shooting it, because as you mentioned, it was such a community project, and most of the cast and the extras on set spoke Portuguese, except for Nathaniel, who's the lead, and then a lot of the crew didn't speak Portuguese. And although there was a script, Bruno, who stars as his partner, was ad-libbing a lot, like making up, and he was being really funny, and so everyone would be laughing, try not to laugh, but every, like, the DOP and Nathaniel had no idea what he was saying the entire time, so it was like this really, like, the dynamic of the film played out often on set. And so, and another, like, my favorite story of the set was we had this focus puller who just wasn't, like, feeling the music. He was just really sterile the entire shoot. But I caught him at the very end, in the very last take, dancing to the music and, like, grabbing another person from the set and dancing, and I was like, all right, you know, everyone gets pulled into fall, so.
Yeah. Lalo told me how to dance for all last year at the Che. Okay, we have to wrap it up. Jorge, just one more question because we really have to go. Okay?
Can you please tell us how you finance films?
Every single person, how do you finance your work? Starting with Ulises.
I borrow other people's cameras, and I'm an actor, and yeah, I just steal people's stuff and use it.
Well, this was a work that I made while I was in film school in Cuba, so it was the school that financed the production of the film.
Yeah, my idea is to bring it to zero and to invest on the creativity.
I'm still waiting for the budget. Hopefully it will come. We sort of made it up, and that's it. I mean, that's it. No, there's no budget. Still, there's no budget.
I had a bit of grant money, but mostly it was from friends and family in the community, and a lot of people just worked for free and really supported the film.
Well, in my case, I've been working in production for about 8 years, so I've been learning how to finance different kind of projects. So, in the case of Ruptura, it was an Indiegogo campaign, also a co-production with other entities, and this is like the way I've been doing short films. I ran another Indiegogo campaign last November for $10,000, which was like half of the budget. And usually combining, like using camera for somebody, editing suite for some other person, a musician who needs portfolio, give us the music, things like that. So combining resources, mostly co-production. This is what I've been doing mostly.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much.